welcome to the latest ECIST podcast. I'm joined today by Hayley and Clare from Shrewsbury and Telford hospitals, and we're going to chat today about the Reconditioning Games. Clare, Hayley, do you want to quickly introduce yourself? Clare?
Yeah, hi, I'm Clare Walsgrove. I'm the Quality Matron at SAF.
And I'm Hayley Flavell. I'm the Director of Nursing at SAF.
Great, thanks a lot both for joining us today. So Clare, just starting with you, why did you decide to get involved in the Reconditioning Games?
So I think being the Falls lead for the Trust, we saw the impact that the pandemic had on patients that were coming into us post-COVID, but also personally, you know, elderly family members that we told to stay at home in the pandemic that had really impacted by not mobilising as much as they normally would have. It just felt like it was the right thing to do for our patients to get them back on their feet.
Yeah, brilliant. And so Hayley, from your perspective, why is this important for the organisation?
It's exactly what Claire said. It's about supporting our local communities. We also have a large number of patients who remain in hospital because they're waiting to go to their next destination, and there's a real potential of functional decline and deconditioning, so it's really important that we support the patients that we've got in our organisation. It's also quite a lot of fun in terms of it's fun for the patients, it's fun for the staff, it also improves staff morale, and we are seeing benefits in other work streams that we've got. So as Claire said, the potential of reducing falls, pressure ulcers, and an overall patient experience. And as I said, it is a real bit of fun, really, isn't it, Claire?
Yeah, and it's important, isn't it? 'Cause sometimes we found this with some other organisations that they're really picking up a sense of a better teamwork. The MDT working is improved. It's not just seen as, in terms of patient mobilisation, it's not just seen as a therapist's job, it's everybody's job. Yeah. We've really seen a different feel to the way that the atmosphere of the wards and the games that people are playing, and the staff are getting involved as well. You know, to see it as a bit of fun. But there's a serious under message as well to it, as you say, that functional decline. So the things that you've done so far, Claire, tell us a bit more about the...
We had quite a big launch week, so we had a ribbon cutting on both sites, that Hayley and our medical director cut the ribbon on this site, and that was really just to gather that momentum and energy about the Reconditioning Games. During that week we had external sports people come onto site, they did some exercises, chair-based Pilates and things like that in our discharge lounges. And we have carried on really since that week. More and more wards are starting to join us now on that journey. We're still very much at the start, but it's nice to see it gather momentum.
Yeah, I mean, without trying to overstretch the games analogy, it is a marathon, not a sprint, and we're seeing this a lot of places. It's just about getting started. Are you finding that, you know, that some people who are interested at the moment, they're just trying some simple things out at the moment?
Yeah, so they're doing bingo, balloon, tennis. Our physios are getting involved as well, and our OTs, so they're looking at things as well from a staff perspective, adjusting the heights of walking aids and things like that, so that we're engaging with our staff and giving them some skills as well.
Yeah, and I think it's so important, just some of the simple things. You know, I've spoken to other people who, it's not about massive changes, not about organisational complete changes happening across the organisation. It's just the small stuff that people feel they can get involved in, and that's how you develop the kind of social media. People feel like they can, I can do that, or I
think leaders are really key to that. So we've got some really engaged ward managers. So on our trauma and orthopaedic ward specifically here, we've got a really engaged ward manager called Helen, who's working with her sister called Becky, who is absolutely pushing it in terms of balloon tennis and just some really basic exercises. Now these patients have, you know, the lady I was with had just had a hip operation the day before, and she was absolutely gave me a run for my money with balloon tennis. But we also got support from our chief exec, who also came down for 10-15 minutes to talk to the patients, because, you know, being in hospital, it's really it's difficult for people. We know how pressured the organisations are at the moment, so it's really important that our patients do feel part of it and are having something a little bit different in the day. And if it's helping them not decondition and recondition, that's exactly the right thing to do. There's also an element of competition isn't there? Which is really good because nurses love a certificate. So there's also an element of competition. So we've also got our renal matron called Sharon, our renal ward manager called Sharon. She's also really pushing it with her cohort of patients as well. So the important element of it, doesn't matter what ward you're on, somebody on that ward will benefit from the work that Clare is leading and with her team.
Yeah, and it's not about who's doing it and who's not doing it, is it? You know, some people are doing it, and I think that's absolutely great. And it doesn't matter that it isn't across the board everywhere. Some patients won't feel they can get involved, and that's absolutely fine. That's not the message that I think should be pushed out. But I was really it was great to see on Twitter, you know, someone like yourself who's out there role modelling as well. So, you know, you talk about leadership. I think it's really important that the senior leaders of organisations are role modelling for the people as well, and they're saying it's okay. Yeah. This is okay. Some people may feel, oh, you know, can we really do that? Can we really go and play balloon tennis with a patient?
And get over competitive with a lady called Elizabeth.
Yeah, and building a bit of competition. That's all just a bit of fun.
Yeah, I think, you know, we talk a lot about the pressures within the organisation at the moment, and organisations across the country. We talk a lot about the ED pressures, the urgent emergency care pressures, but there's also the back end of the pressures, and the pressures of that we've got to. We look at harm in organisations, don't we? We look at harm, of what harm is happening in the community due to the pressure on ambulances, what harm's happening within ED. It's also what harm's happening at the back door. So what can we do to prevent the decondition of patients waiting for their next step in their journey? So it's really, really important that we get this right.
Absolutely right, and it's the small things that we can do sometimes just that can make that difference. And there are times when we think, well, we know that we're really busy, up against it, possibly short-staffed as well, and we just think, oh, we haven't got time to do that. Yeah. And actually what we're seeing is that just a little bit of invested time early on can give back the time later on, particularly for patients who are in bed for a long time or are in hospital for a long time. It helps them recover more quickly, and then maybe even return home rather than looking for further placements or further packages of care later on. And we're starting to see that around the country as well, as well as the impact on falls as well.
And I also think for me, when we went down to Helen's ward, they'd been doing it for quite a while. So then one of the ladies in the bay was like, when are we going to play balloon tennis? And that's really positive, because, you know, that's something that, you know, it's not just about physical interaction, it's also cognitive interaction as well. So it's been really well received on our trauma and orthopaedic ward, hasn't it? Which predominantly have elderly and frail, so it's incredibly positive.
I think the cognitive element is massive and often gets really overlooked, and we've seen this, again, some reports back from Sheffield, I think it was, in some of the paediatric wards are involved, because we've seen functional decline in children as well, but very much so from a cognitive perspective, keeping their mental health.
And I think what was really positive on all of the wards is that it's, you know, absolutely, there's some really strong leadership who are absolutely driving it, and the ward managers are fundamental in that because they set the scene. But when I was there, it was the trained nurse associate, it was the healthcare assistant, it's the student nurse, it was the therapist, everybody was involved. And that, again, not only is that right for the patient, it's really it's proper MDT working, as you talked about, but it's also ensuring that it's everybody's job. And it's not just the therapist's job. We're not compartmentalising the care that we provide to our patients.
So, Claire, tell us what's next for the plans for staff.
So I think we recognise that January is going to be a tough month for us, as other trusts as well. So we do anticipate maybe a little drop in engagement, but what we want to do is then reignite that work in February and in April with some Valentine's themed activities or some Easter themed activities. We would like to link in with local care homes as well to see what we can do to support them and whether they can learn from any of the work that we're doing and vice versa. And some staff challenges as well, because it's not just about the patients, it's about our staff and making sure that they're happy, that they're in a good team. So we've talked about a bowling championship maybe. We've also linked in with a group called Move It or Lose It. So we've got some plans to meet up with them again in January and again see where we can help one another out.
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And from the organisation's perspective, Hayley, where do you see this going beyond the next few months?
What you really want to do is get it embedded into practice, don't you, moving forward? It's something that could be part of the rhythm of the day on the wards. in all honesty, and also learning from other wards. We are a 2-site hospital, so learning from each site and also learning from the networks that Clare has got within the region. So for me, we've had a good start. We know it can be really challenging because there's a lot going on within the organisation. However, it's really important, both from a patient perspective and also from a staff perspective as well.
Yeah, it's really important that, as you say, that it just becomes what we do around here. And we've set the games up to run for 6 months. We maybe think they'll go beyond that, but it's for us, it's about getting something started so people feel like they're connected to something. It just becomes what we do, and we encourage a bit more of the reconditioning style activities. And then what organisations like yourselves do after that, it would really be great to see that embedded and start to develop.
What would be really helpful is seeing how we can measure some of the outputs from it, because what you want to see is the input, and then what does that look like from an output perspective, both from patient satisfaction, patient outcomes, patient and positive outcomes, and also the same for staff as well. So that's what I think we need to look towards, about how do we capture what actually are we delivering from doing the Recon Games.
Yeah, and I think you picked up a really important point there, because if there are people out there who are not quite sure and what the impact, it all feels a little bit warm and fluffy, they want a bit more grit behind something, you're starting to give us a bit more facts and figures that sit behind it then, and that helps the continuation of the work, in areas that it may not have touched in terms of the social movement to start off with. So great if you can find those metrics that help describe those stories. I know that there's some obvious ones like falls, for example, but the patient experience would be a really great one to.
We have started asking our patients before they take part in anything, and then after, how they felt before and after. And we've had some patients that have been a bit, I don't feel great today, I'll just watch if that's okay. 5 minutes later they're joining in, and at the end the one patient said, I felt alive again, and that's what it's all about.
That's a great message, isn't it? Because it's hard being in hospital, isn't it? It's hard for us at our age, if you're stuck in hospital for a longer time, really bring your mental health down as well. So feeling like you can engage in something and that message is really important. So lots of organisations across the country involved in the Reconditioning Games at the moment, some that aren't at the moment. What would be your top tips for those who are just looking to get started?
So I think keep it simple. I think we probably over-egged it a little bit in the first week trying to do something on both sites at the same time. Just give it a go, I think, is the main message. Don't wait to be asked if you want to do something, just try something, and the look on the patients' faces and the comments that you get back from them will make it all worthwhile. Yeah,
great message. And for you, Hayley, what would be your message?
It's embracing it, really. Embracing it, supporting it. I'm in a really privileged position in my job, so it's absolutely supporting people like Clare and the ward managers in allowing it to happen and really encouraging it to happen. And we meet weekly, don't we, as a group of senior nurses, so with all of the ward managers and above, with our therapy colleagues, our midwifery colleagues, so it's absolutely sharing the outputs, really.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you both for your time today. I know what you've spoken about today will be really helpful for the people as well who are watching the podcast, but it's really important to try and capture some of the work that you're doing, so thank you for that, and I look forward to coming back in the new year and hearing even more about what you're getting on. Maybe some of the Valentine's stuff, maybe we'll come back for a special Valentine's edition of the Reconditioning Games podcast. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.